and welcome. We are Del and Debbie's Mind, Body, Soul, the home of invigorating talk on all things to do with health and well-being. I am Del A.D. Jones, and I'm one of your hosts, and I am a certified transformational coach and a 3 principles practitioner, and I help my clients to achieve a balanced, healthy, peaceful, loving life regardless of their external circumstances. And I'm sitting here alone today because we have a really great show talking about balanced life. So my co-host, Debi Carlin Boyle, is the guest today. So before I introduce her, I'd like to suggest that people listen in, call in. Our call-in number is 323-284-7826, or the Facebook page is open if you have any questions. We have a great show all about all the stress that comes with the holiday season and how to handle it in the best, most balanced way possible. So anyway, before I introduce my guest, Debi, we're just going to talk a little bit. So she is going to dig in, as I say, into the stress and what it does to your body and how to control it. And as you know, Debi is a health and fitness and nutrition professional with over 2 decades of experience in the field of health and wellness. Her credibility in these fields is well established, having worked at some of Los Angeles' most prestigious gyms with a numerous group of fitness and health enthusiasts, which include David Duchovny, Nick Nolte, Kira Cedric, Kevin Bacon, Gabriella Reese, and Jennifer Beals, to name but a few. So Debi is a believer in the fundamentals of fitness and diet rather than fleeting trends. She helps her clients maximize their potential through her individuality approach of living a balanced life. So her clients see results that are not just dramatic, but more importantly, lasting and sustainable for their continued health and lifestyles. Debi is spreading her no-nonsense and holistic approach to health and wellness through online video blogs, magazine articles, this show, of course, and her soon-to-be-released book on aging young. Her authentic and creative approach to health is a brand of fresh air in a much saturated market with so many quick fixes. Debi's goal is to help the widest possible audience achieve a long and healthy life. And I am so blessed to call her my very good friend as well as my co-host. And I can't wait to hear all the tips she's going to share with us because, as we said, the holiday season is upon us and that brings up a lot of stress for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So welcome, Debi.
Thank you, Del. Thank you. Yay! I love when we switch seats like this and interview each other because we both have strong coaching. Oh, we already have a call?
Oh, that was quick.
Go ahead, Del.
Okay, hello, caller. Who is this and what's your name and where are you calling from? Hello. Nope.
They left us. Okay. They realized I called too soon. Call back.
Call back. Exactly.
If you're stressed, call back.
So as always, we're just going to give a little bit of background for all the new listeners we have. Mm-hmm. So just describe what it was like, where you grew up, and how your interest in fitness and health started at a very early age.
Okay, shall do. So I grew up here in Southern California, and I was what I call a processed kid. So I grew up when McDonald's and all the fast food chains were coming up. I grew up in a house where my parents wanted to try the latest and greatest processed foods and do takeout. There were 4 kids. I have 2 sisters and 1 brother. And everything was sugary and unhealthy and came out of a box or a package. And I didn't know better.
And but when you say go out, get takeout, it was like fast food takeout?
Yeah,
like
McDonald's.
King,
McDonald's was at least twice a week.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And then my parents had date night on the weekends, so then we did the TV dinners. Remember those TV tray dinners? Swanson. Oh, I'm not going to go there. But anyway, so that was my, early days, and I didn't know better. But what I did know, and I did, like most, and even today, grows up, treats are rewards. Yes, sugary things are rewards. And there were back then snowballs, Twinkies, ding-dongs.
Oh, wow.
Which have shelf. No, they weren't. They had shelf lives longer than rocks. Yeah. So it's not good. I mean, they're still probably around, and I'm in my 60s. So,
you mean the ones that were produced back then?
Exactly. That's what I mean? So I didn't know better, but what I did know is two things. One, the people I loved, including my father, were getting sick. My father got sick in his 30s, and he subsequently passed away by the time he was 46, and I was 20, way young, and it's a hard time to...
And what sickness did he have?
He had Hodgkin's disease, non-lymphoma, and it was before they were doing bone marrow transplants, so he wasn't a candidate for that. They weren't really doing it here in this country at that time. We're talking the early 70s. This was the early 70s, but he was diagnosed in the 60s.
And is that something that's usually related to your diet?
Well, yes. So a lot of diseases. So there's genetic potential on so many things. You know, this is the stuff that kind of threw me into the health and wellness business as a side hustle. All the time I was, working my career growing up, I was really into health and fitness because, again, I just saw so much. People were just going down for the count along the way, and people I loved, and my aunt, my father's sister, died at 60. She had breast cancer. Well, guess what? That's where I'm at now, and I just thought there has to be a better way to take control over your health than dying early. And I saw the quality of life my dad had in his 30s and 40s, and it wasn't good. It was a lot of chemo, a lot of treatments, a lot of, taking out different organs because they were getting cancerous. I mean, it was horrible, and I just, it really hit me bad.
At what age did you make that correlation that it was lifestyle?
About 18. About the time I was going away, and I was going to get out of my household, and I was going to be on my own, and I wanted to attract men.
We have the caller again.
Oh, the caller's back. Okay.
Hello, caller. Are you there?
Hello.
Oh, hello. Hi. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Marcy. I'm calling from Katy, Texas.
Oh, wow. Do you have a question or a comment for Debi?
Yeah, I do. I just figured out I'm 55 years old, and I never understood why I was the way I am. And I come from a family of 10.
Oh, wow.
And my mom, she beat me every day of my life.
Oh, dear.
And I never knew that I was a scapegoat till 2 weeks ago,
And do you think that... Did you think that...
So I didn't know that I was what a scapegoat was until I started doing research and started listening to her on YouTube. And, until I had some wounds open up recently with my son. And maybe I, was a narcissist to him, and I didn't realize it. But, because I was always checking on him, and I didn't, I thought I was a good mother.
Yeah.
I tried to be,
did this affect your health? Did you feel that your health suffered from this background you came from?
Yeah, because I'm very because I got beat all the time. My mom always, I'm a very sensitive. I'm a caregiver now. It's like I always reach out. So I'm always giving to her all the time, and I was like always looking for something for her to give me something, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you listen to the show that we're doing right now, Debi's going to talk all about self-care and how to live a balanced life. And a lot of people come from, they've had extreme backgrounds, and it really affects how they take care of themselves. And Debi's the expert in handling that. So if you just listen to the show, and then if you have any other further comments, or you can, Debi has something to put in here too, but you can definitely go on our Facebook page, and we answer questions and continue the dialogue there. But Debi has something to say very quickly.
Marcia, I'm feeling for you, girl. I'm sorry. And what I was going to say is if you can reach out, if there's some groups or even one-on-one counseling or some help, coaching, that you can get to help you balance the stress of what's going on and what has gone on in your life and how it's playing out today, if there's a way you can reach out even beyond, what I can help you with today, you should, because it's a process, and the first and foremost thing you need to do is take care of yourself. You're number one. When you take care of yourself and sort of heal the wounds of the past through self-care, you're going to be able to rise above everything that's going on, and everybody around you is going to benefit as well.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I tried to. I'm married, and my husband, he's got type 1 diabetes, so he's really sick. So it's hard for me to. Talk to him because he doesn't have the backbone. So
maybe a professional, or go online and look at some groups. We did just make a comment just so we have a way to get in touch with you on our Facebook page. And I'll send you some links to places where you can talk to people and get some help from experts and be able to work through the issues. Because, again, your self-care will help his self-care. You'll be able to help him, and he'll feel better, and will be able to talk to you.
And be able to be there for you.
You're on a road, so just know it's a road. It's not going to happen suddenly or overnight. But I thank you for calling. Really, I do.
Yeah.
And I wish you the best of luck.
Yes. Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you for taking the time to call. Bye-bye.
So that's tough, and that's hard.
Very
and I noticed things like, so my little sister was born with juvenile diabetes, but she required extra care and special diet. I noticed my father's lifestyle had a lot to do with his health. So he smoked, he drank, he overindulged in, the kind of food that I was growing up on. So when I was 18 and could take some control of leaving my household and be able to have some kind of grip on my lifestyle and what I could do and how I could change the direction, because I was planning on having family with kids and I didn't want them to see me go in my 40s. I thought that's not even half your life yet.
Oh, God, absolutely.
By college, I changed, and I went away from processed food. I went off the meal plan because the cafeteria meal plan, when everything was yellow, everything was fried, everything was processed. And I started eating off, I've talked about it before, but I started eating off of local salad bars. And it changed slowly but surely, because it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
It started to happen.
Now, I noticed I remember you once saying, too, that you went vegan for a while. Was that at that period?
I went vegetarian.
Vegetarian.
And that was a little bit like, let's give this a try, and a little bit like, I can't afford to eat meat. And I was really blaming.
Can't afford as in can't afford my health, or can't afford money?
Well, both.
Yeah,
both. And I thought I'd give it a try. And I mean, it was the early, mid-'70s, and going vegetarian was sort of in at the time. It was kind of hip and to try it. And for me, I just knew the more vegetables I ate and the less processed food I ate, the better I felt and the better I looked, and the more likely I was to attract some cute, hot guy. I was living in San Diego, going out in my bikini.
Motivation there.
Yeah, I wanted to wear my bikini and attract the surf boys, and I did. And I ended up marrying one, so there you go. But that was when it started, and that was a side hustle for me. So, moving back to LA, I always wanted to be in the film industry because I saw it all around me, and I have a degree in acting and theater. So I came back here to become an actress, but of course I became a cocktail waitress, which is not a healthy lifestyle. And I would go out on auditions and stuff. But I ended up becoming a commercial producer for a long time, which is a very stressful life. So I had to be very mindful of how I took care of myself. And I'd be sitting on the set with clients, advertising agency.
Craft service tables.
Exactly. And I'd be sitting on the set with clients, and they'd be overweight and feeling lethargic. And before I knew it, I was giving them, unsolicited. Well, they would ask because they knew I started in my late 20s teaching spinning because I was so addicted to exercise. I loved it. It made me feel good and look good as well. And so that was my side hustle. And I realized I was telling people on the set ways that they could better their life through nutrition and self-care. And so it was just, it was a,
And, production background helps in every area of life,
It
as we
really
both know.
does. It really does.
Yeah,
And this is a post-marriage divorce thing for me.
Yeah.
It's a reinvention, which is how you and I started this whole radio show thing. And getting into it, I realized I had a bigger purpose than trying to sell soft drinks.
Yeah.
And I was doing a lot of McDonald's commercials, ironically. And it's not that I didn't enjoy it, because I did, but I really felt compelled to make this as big as I could as I aged.
Well, and it's your passion. And
It is.
We always say if you find your passion and you want to share it with people and it helps people, I mean, it just self-perpetuates. It's satisfying for you and for everybody else around you.
Yes, and and you can make a living at it if you put the effort and the energy into it, and then it doesn't feel like an effort,
Exactly.
So and it's working.
And do what you do, which is constantly keep educating yourself and adding to your sort of bag of tricks of what you share with people. I mean, just give us a little bit of background. I mean, you started off as a spin instructor.
So I got my certification to become a spin instructor, and then once you're instructing, you have a class full of people. And I was into working out myself. I knew a lot about muscle groups and how to train, and they'd see me, and these people would take my class would see me in the gym, and they'd ask me to help them, but I wasn't educated to do that. So I went back to school, and I got my certifications to become. I went to like a 3-month offline program. This was serious in-house kind of program. It was both practical and it was both written. And I learned how to become a personal trainer, and I got clients right away. So that started to snowball for me because, through word of mouth. And then I was still producing and raising a family at that time. So post-marriage, which is now almost 8 years ago, 7.5 years ago, I decided to go back to school. And I got my certifications in health coaching. I'm an integrative, instituted the integrative nutrition health coach, and I got the advanced degree in that as well. And I also am studying hormones, and hormones dictate everything in our life. And that's what we're going to talk about today, and how hormones relate to stress.
So what do you mean when you say live a balanced life? Let's start there.
All right.
What do you consider a balanced life?
This is when I work with a client as a health coach, or when I do workshops and do group talks, I always hand out this sheet that we're going to put up on the screen right now. And this is what I call the circle of life balance wheel. And there are basically 12 things on here. And what this is, it's everything that feeds us in addition to the food on our plate. So you notice that on this wheel, the food on our plate isn't on there. So can you see?
You've done it with me. I know that.
Yeah. So the second in a workshop or the second time I visit with a client, I have them fill this wheel out. And on here is, I'm going to read them to you: joy, spirituality, creativity, finances, career, education, health, physical activity, home cooking, home environment, relationships, and social life. And did I start with joy? I think I started with joy. I'm going to end with joy because that's a big one.
Yeah.
So basically what I do is I have them take this wheel and make a dot. Where from a scale, let's say from 1 to 10, making 0 the bullseye and 10 the outer part of the circle, just put a dot on where that in each one of these places are in their life. So for instance, if we talk about Marcy, her health might be low, her joy might be low, her relationships might be low, but some other things might be high. So she's going to fill out the wheel and then attach the dots. And then you get a visual of the off balance that's in your life. Because remember, these things feed us.
Because this is basically a wheel with spokes. And if you're all at a 10, it's a perfectly round circle. But nobody's at a 10 in every area.
We're talking about balance.
Yeah, you're going to be having dips and,
Exactly. But if you see something really close to the 0 point, then that's got to come up.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we would focus on that I would talk to a group or talk to a client about focusing on. So then what we would do is we would take the low points, and let's say finances is a low point. Then we would take out a sheet of paper and actually write it down so you can manifest what you're actually trying to do. 3 things that might change your finances from being at the low point to maybe the middle point. 3 things that it could be done, not necessarily overnight, but that you should, you need to get on the baby steps.
because otherwise it can get too daunting and people just give up and say, I'm not going to bother. So,
and then we take those 3 things and we do it to each category that's low over a period of time. And we take those 3 things and we put action steps to them. Wonderful. What can we do? And I'm there to coach them on it because if they, get, kind of a mind freeze on what to do or feel blocked or they've tried something that didn't work, we think out of the box and find things, I have the tools.
Wow. So you teach like not just health and fitness and nutrition, but
all
lifestyle.
these things are good because that's part of health.
Yeah.
Health is balance, finding balance and taking care of yourself in these areas first. Now, these are primary foods. Yeah. Secondary food would be food on your plate, and that's a really big factor. And we go through that. So I get what their daily lifestyle dictates in terms of all their meals and what they're eating. I had a client, did a first session with a client last week, and the first thing she said to me is, I had a bag of Fritos for dinner. Ooh. So I knew we had somewhere to start from. We had a place that we could go from there. Wow. And, I wasn't going to tell her, no, you can't have Fritos anymore because it doesn't work that way.
Have Fritos and broccoli or something like that.
Exactly.
Balance it
so
out.
What we do is we crowd it out. You know that saying I have. So with food and in lifestyle as well, you crowd out the bad with the good. So if you're doing something that's detrimental in one of these areas in finances, we're going to start doing good things in finances, like get a budget going, like start looking at where those expenses are going. If they're going to eating out too much, not only is home cooking healthier and better for you physically and, to help you with self-care, but it's cheaper too. So we'll start looking at those things, and that's crowding out little by little bit instead of abruptly.
And you're not saying don't have a social life, but maybe not a social life that evolves around food and drinking, because there's so many other things you can do socially that besides hiking and going for walks and things like that, but just other things like going to the museum, going to a movie, things where you don't have to be,
everything has to be around food.
Yeah.
Exactly. And having said that, this is the holidays and there is a lot of emphasis on food. And I do have a couple of articles about how to navigate the holidays on my website, which is fitbydesignla.com. So I just today I'll refer people because a lot of what we're going to talk about goes deeper on my website. Yeah. So there are links to that.
Yeah. So what would you say is the number one thing that puts us out of balance?
Stress.
Stress.
So
that's
stress. And stress can come in if you're stressing about any one of these things. If you're stressing about finances or you're stressing about your health in general, if you're stressing about the fact that you don't like your job, your career, or your home life, your relationship, that's going to throw everything off. And then you're going to notice that a lot of these things are going to closer to the center than they are going to be in alignment.
Now, I'm thinking, stress right now, because as we all know, in Malibu, we've gone through these horrendous fires, and I keep noticing, myself included, gain 5 pounds in 3 weeks. How do you do that?
Yeah.
But then there's either people that are stressfully eating or people that can't eat at all. And so, it's so funny. We seem to
manifests itself in different ways.
Very different
Either
ways.
way, you're sort of sabotaging your self-care.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Because you're feeding or not feeding the wound.
Yes. Yeah.
And there are very traumatic events that can cause stress in our lives. So there's a stress hormone called cortisol. And things in our lives like recent trauma, that's trauma, that going through the fires, all of us in Malibu. Unresolved childhood trauma.
Yes.
We just had a caller. Yes.
Absolutely.
A lot of children, a lot of responsibility, being, wearing a lot of hats, taking care of everybody else and not yourself. Divorced and relationship troubles. My daughter, 2 days ago, just broke up with a boyfriend that they were going on 5 years and they were living together.
Oh, wow.
She, right now, I can see she's not eating, she's not sleeping, she's not taking care of herself. And luckily, she has me as a mom, and she's actually being receptive to me helping her get through this stress.
And often people, just need that little period of time. Because, I 100% was sort of being a little easy on myself at the height of the drama with the fire. But now it's like, this week, it's like, okay, back to normal.
Yeah, you give yourself a pass. And you know what?
break.
Because what happens is when you release that hormone, that cortisol, that's the fight or flight hormone. So you're basically in the fight and flight of your life when you're stressed like that because of an event. And so your body isn't utilizing the food in its optimal way because you are over-activating that hormone.
So this is a really good one then, because I don't think I was eating that much more than I would normally eat. But for some reason, I felt like I just sort of held on to something. And
your cortisol levels were high.
Yeah. So
and they can affect many areas of your life when they're high. And so so nothing is working efficiently. So what happens is it throws your adrenals off, and your adrenals help you metabolize your food and get the nutrients and the things you need. It's directly related to thyroid. And if your thyroid gets out of balance, that throws everything else that the thyroid is supposed to do, because it's your thyroid is your internal thermometer. And if your internal self isn't, regulated, let's say, isn't balanced, then none of the nutrients and the minerals and the things that your body needs to be healthy, to thrive, to feel good, to help you look good, to be productive, is all offset, is all off balance.
Wow.
So it's this funky snowball effect. You trigger one thing. The event is the trigger.
Yes.
But it triggers your hormone, your cortisol level to go up, which in turn regulates the thermometer gets you all off balance. Do you see?
All the stuff that you're putting in your body.
So that's the simple. There's a lot more detail about that. And I'm not a doctor. I do have to stress that. I am not even a functional medicine doctor, but I am schooled in this way, and I do understand the process. And it's so simple, and that's what I try to give the A, B's, and C's to clients, or it gets too complicated.
No, exactly. Simple is better. Yeah, and especially, I'm talking about a rare event that just happened. But we're also heading into the holidays. I mean, and there are other stresses involved with the holidays. Some people are, having their first holiday, like you just mentioned, a breakup. I mean, some people, this is their first major holiday they're going through without their partner. Maybe they lost their partner too.
And we both know what that feels like.
And
it's very stressful.
Yeah, and also people might be visiting family, and they say that if you want to see how evolved you are, go back and spend the holidays with your family. See all that the dynamics come up again, those family dynamics. So give us some tips, not just around the health and nutrition, but other tips that will help people manage that stress.
Okay. So the first and foremost thing is to know, like you said, okay, I'm going to be around my family. That makes me anxious, So what are some things you can do to alleviate anxiety, first and foremost? So these are some really unconventional things, but I like them.
Yeah.
And they're actually, some of them are kind of fun, So they're all mindful techniques. I also, back to my website, have a whole thing about being mindful of self-care, and there's a whole article, a whole blog on my website that I just put up yesterday during this time of year. Great. So again, go there, go to blog, and it's the very first article. I just put it up yesterday. What's the
name of the article?
It's mindfulness during the holidays, I think. I think that's what it says, something to that effect. Okay, I'm going to give you a technique, and it's called shaking. Oh. Okay, and I'm going to tell you how to do this. And we do it.
And you're not talking about the cocktail shaker, no?
No. Well, that's another technique. But that's what people do. That's part of the sabotage that people do during this time of year. A lot of time we reach to food or alcohol or sugar, or too much caffeine, and that's going to keep the balance going even in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Because those are the things we think, if we're tired, caffeine's going to help us. If we feel we need a reward for something that's stressful, we're going to go for a drink. If we think that we are deserving because of all we're doing right now of, a big, heavy, unhealthy meal, then we're going to go, fill up on that. And then in the end, we feel worse.
Yeah.
So here's some techniques that will make you feel better. All right.
Back to shaking.
The shaking. So it's not a shaker.
Okay.
Now, however, well, we'll go back to that. So what you do is you choose, it's about a 10-minute process, right? Mm-hmm. So you're going to choose a couple of songs that have a beat that you really like. Oh. And you're going to stand up and do this alone. This is like turning on, in your house when no one's home, or if you live alone, turning on music and just dancing for a free-for-all, and how you feel so much better afterwards. Yeah. This is kind of that premise. Yeah. So what you do is you start from the bottom of your feet, and you just start shaking your feet to the music. And then you go to your knees. Then you go to your thighs. Then you go to your waist. Then you go to your head. And you shake through the song whatever compels you to shake out. Yeah. And then you rest for like a minute or two, put up the second song for 4 or 5 minutes, and do the same thing again. I dare you to try it.
Wow,
it is a great technique. Yeah. It literally shakes off the EBGBs of anxiety.
So you're actually thinking about something that you want to release as you're doing the shaking.
Yeah. Well, before you're going to do it to try to get rid of anxiety, of stress, or up and out. How could it not help? Yeah. It's just cool. a great. So that's one.
Okay.
The other one is a little bit more calm, if you will, and it's called soft belly breathing. Yeah. And so this you can do sitting up. Or this, you probably know this because a lot of yogis, which you are, do this. That you could sit up or lie down, and you basically put one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest. And when you breathe in, nice and slow, you want your belly to expand. Yeah. And then you breathe out. You're going to let everything kind of exhale and get out. You're sort of releasing the stress, but in a slow, mindful manner.
Yeah, because so many of us breathe with just the upper part of our lungs. We don't even take those deep, deep breaths. And that belly breathing, that soft Buddha belly breathing you're talking about.
Say the word soft when you breathe in to let the belly out, and then say the word belly on the way out, and that kind of slows you down just by saying it. And if you're alone, say it, say it out loud. Again,
preferably
these
alone.
are kind of like fun things to do on your own.
Don't be doing this at the bus stop.
Yeah. I mean, you could in a corner somewhere.
Just not the shaky one.
Okay, so I have another one.
Okay.
And this one's called earthing. And this one is getting in touch with being outdoors. And you can do it several ways. You could do it just by taking off your shoes and walking on the sand, and just get yourself closer to the earth. Stay connected, stay mindful to the earth. Walk on grass. Go outside in your backyard, go to a park, but be mindful as you're doing this. And lay outside in the sun for a few minutes.
Again, on the grass, it's lovely.
Yes, or you could just at night let the moon or the stars envelop you. It's one of the ways that you become connected to the earth. And a connection to the earth automatically is a de-stressor. Yeah. Automatically. But you have to you have to do it. Yeah. You have to,
or even just taking a walk in nature and really taking in what you see.
That's
just the beauty of, for me, the formation of a flower. And when you really
stop and look. Yeah.
I mean, you notice there's little sort of like insects and things you wouldn't normally see unless you take the time to stop and look.
You have to stop and smell the roses. Exactly. That expression has meaning.
Yeah.
It's basically stop and appreciate, feel, take that time, take that breath, take that sense for yourself.
In our thinking, and we're just sort of living in the past or the future, and we've just got these cluttered minds, and we just don't see what's right under our nose, which is so beautiful most of the time.
Yeah, and it's hard to do. We have a call.
We have another call. Hello, are you there?
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi, caller. Hello. What's your name, and where are you calling from?
This is Liz. I'm Debbie's friend.
Hi, Liz. Liz listens to our show every week.
Oh, that's
pretty
great.
much.
Thank you, Liz. Did you have a question or a comment for Debbie?
Yes, I do. I love her technique for anti-stress, but I wanted to throw in get a dog.
Get a dog.
Well, guess who's here with me, Lizzie? Yeah. Ellie's with me today. Ellie's with me. She's right under here, under my feet, I think.
Yeah.
Under Kurt.
I also want all the listeners to know that I have seen and witnessed Debbie dance on her spin bike.
Yes.
It is. And it's very de-stressing for me to be able, yes. And I make my class, right, Liz? Do I make my class go to the beat of the song?
Absolutely. You're amazing.
How do you feel after class? Aside from the sweat and the adrenaline rush that we get and the endorphins that we hit, how do you feel? Do you feel doesn't it make your day better? I mean, it doesn't.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm a little older, more mature, and I feel about 10 years younger when I go home. And and people say, "What have you just done? Where did you go?"
It works.
Yeah. I'm glowing. It works. It absolutely works.
Liz, you're adorable. Thank you so much for endorsing that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's proof.
Thank
you so much. Thank you, Liz. Keep listening. I've got more techniques. I'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
She's so lovely.
Thank you.
I adore her.
So great.
But she's endorsing something that works.
Well, I have to agree with her. I mean, it doesn't have to be a dog if you're not a dog person, but a cat or something. But when you have a relationship with an animal, it's so soothing, it's so loving, and it calms you down. It's known to lower your heart rate, and which is going to get me to, well, that's part of the breathing, the belly breathing too, because when you pet an animal, it's like holding a baby. It automatically resets That's why they take them into hospitals to help.
That's right. Their therapies.
Patients.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So two other techniques, and then we can go on. One is, during this time especially, is being able to just say no.
Yeah.
We take on a lot in our lives, period. Most people do. And during this time, people ask a lot of you. And sometimes just saying no not only feels empowering, but it also releases you from the stress of the things that it's going to take if you say yes. It's okay to say no. And you'll actually be respected for it, because you can say, this is not at this time, but I would love to get involved when things aren't so crazy or whatever. It's but give yourself permission to say no during this time and any time.
Yeah, and at the same time, what comes up for me when you say that is there's also a time and a place to say yes.
That's right.
Just there really is,
but to know it, to
know
be,
it exactly. That's the point. Is to know. What do they say? Something like resentment is your body's way of letting you know that you gave more than you can afford to give.
That's right.
And it really is. And you don't want to be in resentment because, again, you're going to start getting hormonally out of balance. But just really listen to your body. Know when like you said, you're not taking the time to really say, can I afford to do this right now?
Right. So, absolutely. Yeah. And which brings me to, sometimes you think you're so stressed that you think, how am I going to do this all? I can't do this. And then what do? You make it worse.
Yeah, exactly.
So I say reframe the struggle.
Yeah.
Fall into it. Use it to empower you and take the stress and say, I can do this. Give yourself kudos for the fact that you can get through this step by step, and you can be even more amazing doing it.
Yeah.
Rather than say, this is going to kill me, change the conversation.
Yeah.
This is going to empower me. This is going to make me
And to break it up
this.
into manageable pieces. I mean, I think when we look at the big picture, sometimes it's so overwhelming that we just spin. Whereas if we go, what can I do in this moment that's in that direction?
That's
One
right.
baby step at a time.
And it's really hard when you're in the moment. It's really hard. But you know how, like, when we talk about adrenaline, and again, adrenaline, our cortisol levels affect our adrenals. So that's adrenaline is what propels us. Like when people talk about how do you get through, you're so nervous. What keeps you going if you're on stage to do a talk or something? And you say, my adrenaline was going. Or how did you? Use that to your advantage, because then when your adrenaline's going and you're actually in the process of doing the talk, that kind of can lift you up. Use it to your advantage instead of your disadvantage to, freeze.
I was just going to say, and just, reframe that as adrenaline and as excitement. I mean, just look at it as excitement too sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is a good thing. And it's okay when your heart is racing and you're anxious about something coming up. But try to change the conversation on that and use it to your advantage instead of your disadvantage.
So you mentioned adrenals again. Now, I know that this big buzzword out there right now called like adrenal failure. What does that look like, and how does it impact us? How does it
impacts us in a lot of ways. So basically, it throws your whole, like I said, there's a snowball effect in throwing your thyroid off, and then your whole system is off. So it can manifest itself in anxiety or depression. It can change your blood pressure. It can give you brain fog, dizziness. dry skin, fatigue, especially in the morning and the afternoon. And where we go? We go to coffee.
Caffeine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It can compromise your immune system in so many ways. It can increase abdominal fat, and it can give you incessant appetite. It can give you low sex drive. It can give you poor control of your blood sugar. So with these blood sugar spikes, which come from food and come from how we activate hormones, will actually dictate whether or not we feel good or, a lot of this stuff. So you want to, well, we're going to talk about the food part of it.
I was just about to say, that list is so common for a lot of people. Certainly women, mothers or people going into menopause and things like that, and they just feel it's a natural part of it. And they just have to accept
you can
that.
take control. You can take control. We'll talk about that. So the other things poor muscle tone, salt cravings, sleep problems are big. Slow wound healing, and we talked about thyroid dysfunction. So when your adrenals are shot, it's a snowball thing. So what you want to do is take the stress hormone, which is the your cortisol levels, and balance them. Because you have some of these problems manifest when they're too low, and some of them manifest when they're too high. So you want to be able to, again, like that circle with your cortisol levels, you want them to balance. So ways to do that, obviously, are through lifestyle. And the main thing, and which is also on our circle of life, is sleep is one of the main things. And, of course, the number one thing is your diet. And
let's really talk about diet, because we don't have that much time left, and I want to really give some great non-fatty tips to our listeners.
Well, let's talk about food in itself.
In general,
So when you eat, how you eat, and what you eat. So there's like three things that come into play, especially during stressful times. There is this reciprocal effect. If you do these things around food, a lot of these symptoms won't be rearing their ugly heads. And if you don't do these things and you have these symptoms come aboard, then you know that you're off balance. Your hormones aren't acting on full tilt. So one of the things that you want to do is set up yourself timing on when you eat. Now, when I see someone who's stressful, going through stress and has a lot of anxiety, I like them to eat breakfast within an hour or two of when they wake up. I know we've had shows on talking about fasted cardio and intermittent fasting. That's a whole different story. You need to be balanced in order to go into that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But if you're out of balance and you're going down, because what happens, if you have any of those symptoms that I just named, you're setting yourself up for disease. We're talking about autoimmune diseases. We're talking about cancers. We're talking about heart disease. We're talking about thyroid disease. We're talking about diabetes. You were talking about a lot of different things that come into play. Once this is your warning. These little symptoms are warnings. This is where you want to nip them in the butt.
Before they manifest into really serious issues.
Big time. So one of the things you want to do is think about mealtime. So the first thing you want to do is set yourself up to eat breakfast. They call it, we've talked about this before, breaking the fast. So when you wake up, you want to eat good breakfast. And a good breakfast is, we've talked about this before, protein, good fat, good healthy carbohydrates, which can come in the form of vegetables. They can come in the form
So what would your ideal breakfast be?
Well, I'm going to give you this morning what I had. So I start my day, and this is a whole other subject, and I'll do a show on this at one point, with celery juice. So I have a juicer, and I take a bunch of celery, and I make about a 12-ounce glass of straight 100% celery juice. It's a detox for me because, again, we're breaking the fast. I hadn't eaten since, let's say, 8 p.m. the night before, and now at 7 a.m., so 11 hours later, I am now drinking celery juice on an empty stomach. And celery juice has all kinds of healing components. So right away, I'm healing. The other thing I say, warm water and lemon. Just do that if you have time when you wake up. And then within 45 minutes or an hour, you can go ahead and have food, breakfast. So this morning I had a poached egg with some spinach and I had a fourth of an avocado.
Wow.
And that's what I've eaten today.
Yeah.
And I have energy.
So you haven't had lunch yet?
I haven't had lunch because our show's at 1 o'clock, and I'll do that after. And I'm going to go visit my daughter who's stressing about her relationship because her office is down the street. So, but yes, so I set that timing up. And then you're going to want to have lunch. Again, you're going to want to have your balance in fat, protein, and good carbohydrates. And there's a whole protocol to that. That's a show within itself. But think about if you do anything else, non-processed food, as natural and as organic as you can get. And if you don't have control over that, I mean, I eat out. I don't have control of the source of the food, but I do tend to go to places that do mark that for you. And if you're at a place that doesn't, at the very least, eat whole foods and not processed food. So I am more on the paleo side on the way I eat. So I don't eat breads because right away you're eating processed food. And also I eat gluten-free because gluten does cause a lot of irritants, which starts to rear its ugly head in other ways and manifests itself in some of those symptoms that I said. The other thing is
before you move on, so what about snacking in between these meals?
Absolutely.
Okay, but what would you suggest as a healthy snack then?
A healthy snack would be apples and almond butter. Again, organic apples, 100% almonds for almond butters, and it's raw as most, if you can, organic form.
Unsalted, unsweetened.
Nuts. A handful of nuts. Really good for you. Good protein, good fats, and nuts have a lot of calcium, some of them. I mean, just a great, if you are not allergic, that's a great snack. Berries, a bowl of berries, all kinds of micronutrients in there that, and when you're feeding yourself well and taking care of other things in your life, those nutrients are going to do their job. So some of the other things are lifestyle modifications. So when what you do between meals and how it depends on how you're going to manifest those meals and how they're going to, metabolize. That's the word I'm looking for. So you want to look into your life at things that are causing you to grab the candy bar or things that are causing you to skip a meal. And you're going to want to have a better grip on your timing and how you're doing stuff.
Well, that's what that wheel that you start off with really points to. It gives you the
Self-care.
indication of where the triggers might be. But we're ending up running out of time here. There's so much to cover. But the one thing I did want to talk about, because you mentioned that another thing that can contribute to the adrenal fatigue or is a long-term ketosis diet, because that's very, very popular right now.
Yeah, I've been reading a little bit more about this. I don't know the details. Putting your body in ketosis is a good thing. It's your body's efficiently burning fat. But it's hard to sustain. Because again, there's outside force, especially this time of year when you're going to a lot of parties, eating off of buffets and other people's food that you're not in control of. And it can cause some fatigue and some adrenal fatigue. So I think I've always felt like the ketosis thing should be an intermittent thing, and it is in my life. I'll go into it and put myself there when I feel like I need to kick back and slow down a little bit. So overall, the paleo lifestyle works for me better. And it's got the elements of that in it as well, because it's all good fat. So exercise is a huge part. Huge, and I haven't mentioned it here, but it's on that wheel. Exercise. I just tell everybody, break a sweat every single day, any way you can.
I was just going to say, and
get everything moving, manifest the good food, get it through.
And also do something that you enjoy, even if it's just a nice long walk on the beach.
Yes, absolutely.
It's much better than...
And sleep, because what happens is you can't fall asleep when your adrenals are fatigued.
Yeah.
So if you don't sleep, your cortisol levels change. Your stress is going to go up the next day because you're not resting. But when you rest, that's when the food is doing its job. That's when you're getting all your nutrients.
I love my sleep. You're
and you're
preaching to the
really
choir.
good about that. But you
are.
know what? 98% of my clients don't sleep, which is why they're my clients. And so we shift that. And by the time they're done with me, they're sleeping much better.
Right. Well, we are out of time. So I want you to share your website and tell people how they can work with you and any events that you have coming up or anything.
Okay, great. All right. So my website is fitbydesignla.com. It has the articles on there. It has what we were talking about, the mindfulness during this time, how to meditate mindfully. We didn't talk about meditation, but there are different ways to meditate. And just being mindful and stopping and taking those breaths are a form of meditation. I even think that shaking routine is a form of meditation. And I have all kinds of good things coming up that we're going to talk about after the first of the year. I do workshops, so I encourage you to sign up and be on my email list. I do a 4 times a year seasonal newsletter. So I'll send you my, I have a free giveaway on there, and I'll send you my new newsletter that's all about getting through the season.
Very exciting.
And then I stay in touch with you and give you all kinds of perks and things and let you know when we have workshops and things coming up. And I do teleclasses too. So no matter where you're at in the world, we can get together and we can help the things that might be
Debbie, we needed
taking
2 hours
you down.
with you. Just so much to cover here. But
well, this is our show. We can keep going with each of
Yes.
us. We both have lots of good information to impart to our
Well,
people.
this has been lovely. Thank you so
you.
much. Very
Thank you,
timely,
Del.
perfect time of year. And
I know. I wish everybody happy holidays.
Yes,
I'm so
everybody
glad that
happy
you guys
holidays.
listen, and we have nothing but gratitude for all of our listeners and all the people that surround us.
So tune in next week, and again, happy holidays.
Yes, I think a week from today is Christmas. Merry Christmas,
know,
everybody.
yes.
Happy holidays.
Yes.
We'll see you
Thank
next time.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.